What's up? A to Z Sports here live on a Thursday morning. We made it, Sam. It has been a heck of a morning as I have new school bus law proposals for the traffic that was created by school buses this morning. But we're live at St. Thomas Sports Park getting ready to have a great show here, a little later than normal, but that's okay. We're going to have a lot of Titans talk yesterday, day one of joint practices with Titans and Seahawks. Today, day two. Sam, you and I will flip our responsibilities. You watch Titans offense. I watched Titans defense. Now we're going to have a lot of good conversation about our notes and news from yesterday and who looked good, who didn't, and we'll go from there. But we're going to have a lot of great conversation about the joint practice heat today. So let's welcome in and let's get this thing off on a roll here later than normal, but we're all set and ready to go.
Hey, better late than never. We are here. We are ready for joint practice day two, sitting here looking at the beautiful training facility in front of us, Austin, which means it's going to be a good day of notes and a good show as we unveil our notes from yesterday. Everything that you guys missed here at Titans joint practices, we're going over all of it, which means you got to stick with the show and you got to share the show, because if there's a Titans fan in your life that missed practices yesterday, that wasn't able to be out here, and I did see some of you loyal A to Zites here at practice yesterday. So appreciate you guys coming by and saying hi. But if you didn't get a chance to come out here, you got to let people know, hey, A to Z is giving you everything you need from practice. That means share the show on Facebook by hitting the share button in the bottom right corner. That means sharing the show on YouTube by taking that YouTube link and sending it to that friend, sending it to that group chat, letting them know A to Z is live right now and introduce them to the A to Z Sports family. That's the best way to support before we kick it off here on a Thursday morning.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He's Sam Phelan, live from St. Thomas Sports Park and always powered by the BetMGM app. Make sure that you are locked and loaded for us. Nashville's on-demand sports talk network going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time, and also content galore for camp practice throughout the day on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, everywhere else, YouTube, all over the place for our content. And also got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you, like Farm Bureau Health Plans. Make Farm Bureau Health Plans your new health coverage partner. Check them out and get a link today at our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. And the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. So a lot of stuff to get to, and I see somebody saying, hey, Amar says you guys finally got a spot to sit down. We do. I should have thought about this weeks ago.
Maybe years.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, maybe years. You're right. I feel more comfortable doing this with Brian Callahan, the head coach, rather than Mike Vrabel, the head coach, as we've all talked about the different vibes and the freeness. But sitting here on the sideline of the practice field, Sam, a lot of really fun things to watch. Joint practices are absolutely the best. All the energy. You're 3.5, 4 weeks into camp right now. It is the right time to have somebody else come in here. And yesterday, I think, proved that with the juice that we saw on all three fields yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? We heard Brian Callahan talk about this philosophy growing within the organization that is hunt together. And the Titans went through training camp, and you don't have the opportunity to hunt together. Any of this juice turns into tension between the offensive line and defensive line, or offense and defense, and what it is. And you start fighting your own teammates and things get a little chippy. And then you have an opportunity in a preseason game this past weekend to hunt together for the first time. And you saw the kind of energy that the Titans had during the game and after the game in the locker room of a team that was just excited to play together. And then, Austin, that is carried over now to the practice field, because all of this energy that the Titans have been building up, they're able to take out on another team right now. They're able to go hit somebody from another team. They're able to defend their own teammates from another team. It is all kind of leading up to these joint practices where, like you said, energy is high, tensions are high, things get chippy, but it's really, really competitive. And that is what is ultimately going to make the Titans a better football team.
Yeah, no doubt. And so one thing to report on is that Will Levis, and you'll talk about what the Titans offense did because you were watching the Titans offense at practice yesterday. I was watching the Titans defense versus Seahawks offense yesterday. We'll flip today, but we'll get to Will Levis's performance on the field. But afterwards, we got a little scent. We got a little test smell of the Will Levis number 8. And honestly, that thing stuck with me the rest of the day on my shirt sleeve that Levis gave me a squeeze of right there. I mean, I thought it smelled pretty good. I know you got some too.
Yeah, Levis was handing out doses of Will Levis #8. It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I talked to Will, and we were kind of just like, yeah, you can wear this unironically. But it is a little close. It's close.
So I'm not a cologne guy at all. So I think for me, it was what normal cologne is like. And so, it did not smell like mayo. It did not have any of that stuff, but it was a legitimate, like regular cologne.
I will say for me, as the day went on, I kept smelling my wrist and I was like, there's a little bit of something is a little off about my wrist and like the smell. That's not a normal cologne smell, but it was like rather refreshing. Smelled a little bit citrusy, like Will said, smelled like a hotel lobby, like Will said. It wasn't like a mayo scented cologne. So, hey, when there's a new drop coming out, maybe go get yourself some.
Yeah. We have 2 bottles coming to A to Z headquarters. We'll find out what we do with those later on. All right, let's get on to the field. So, Sam, give us an update. And I know Calvin Ridley was a part of the big conversation yesterday. So, some updates on the Titans offense. And before we dive into our first big conversation here.
I'm sorry, I was reading the comments about the cologne. I missed your question completely.
Titans offensive updates and notes from what you saw. Calvin Ridley was a big talking point.
Yeah, Ridley was a big talking point yesterday. Honestly, Austin, yesterday was the first time that I felt like Calvin Ridley did not have a good day at Titans camp. Calvin Ridley really struggled. It really started in one-on-ones. He was matched up with Reek Woolen in one-on-ones and was kind of getting jammed at the line and really getting it taken to him. Reek Woolen got the better of Calvin Ridley in almost all of their one-on-one reps. That sort of transitioned over into team period where he was really a non-factor. In 7-on-7 at one point, Ridley ran a quick slot. Levis hit him in stride. Ridley just dropped the ball, or a quick slant route just right off his hand, straight to the ground. And all of us were kind of looking at each other on the sideline being like, what's up with Calvin today? Why is he kind of in his head today? What's going on? The day finished in team period. Will Levis takes 2 shots down the field. And I think it's important to put into context here. The Titans offense was doing a lot of stuff underneath. Mm-hmm. They were not taking many deep shots. The Seahawks really had them bottled up well in coverage so that Will was having to take the efficient, passing route and just check downs, shallow passes, completing passes, but not really like wins, I would say, for the offense in a ton of these drills. And we were kind of wondering, when is he going to take the top off and really take a shot? Twice, Levis dropped back out of play action and took a deep shot for Calvin Ridley. Both times, it looked like Calvin Ridley had his man beat, had the jump on his guy, and the ball fell incomplete. And so we all started looking at each other being like, what happened there? Why is their connection off? We thought they figured this out. We thought they ironed out some of these kinks. We talked to Will Levis after. He had kind of said, I'm not really able to speak on it. I'll have to go look at it. Brian Callahan says it's not a linear process. Nobody really had an explanation for what went wrong, how Calvin Ridley could be open and then not have the ball thrown to him and have the ball land just in front of him on a couple of occasions. Nobody except Calvin Ridley, who we spoke to after practice, and he put his hand up and said, hey, my bad.
Yeah, my bad. And here's the Titans receiver, Calvin Ridley. If you got kids in the car, maybe a little earmuffs halfway through this one.
The team in 27, you hooked up a few times.
Not that good today. Could be a little better, man. Just finishing the route, just it could be better.
What happened? Talk us through the 2 deep balls. It looked like you were twisted up on both.
Yeah, I got past the guy, but I'm like, I don't know. My energy, man, it wasn't there a little bit. I just wasn't finishing up, like running hard enough, and then the ball was come out, and then I'm like, fuck, I'm sorry. And I'm like, damn, it's out there. So, but I just gotta run full speed the whole time.
Does there need to be a point where you and Will like officially have it down?
And it's not. We got it down, man. We got it down. We just gotta run. We got it down. I promise we got it down.
You've talked in the past about having.
So that's Calvin Ridley, and Austin, he puts his hand up, says, hey, my bad. But, the root of that conversation here is Calvin Ridley is saying, why did we not complete those passes? I wasn't running hard. Why was I not running hard? My energy, man. I don't know if it was there. Credit to him for owning it. Credit to him for saying it and standing in there and saying what was up and keeping it 100. But, at the end of the day, you have to look at that and say, hey, man, we can't have you just not feeling like running down a deep ball.
Yeah, if anything, Calvin Ridley's two things: fast and honest. And I think, going back to his intro press conference after getting signed, very honest about everything and what his upbringing was, the gambling suspensions. Like, I mean, I wasn't like gambling, you know what I mean? Like, his whole thing about that. And then honestly, like, hey, he's 29 years old, right? And he says he's 25. 25-year-olds probably keep running yesterday, right?
Yeah.
29-year-olds might take a couple reps.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the low-hanging fruit that Calvin Ridley gave the opportunity for his haters in Jacksonville, Duval County to go at, because the social media reaction, I mean, we had Bleacher Report, the DMs this morning asking to use that Calvin Ridley video across their platforms, and all the Jags fans that were taking tee shots on Calvin Ridley saying, see, this is what we're talking about with Trevor Lawrence and Ridley last year. Here's the guy that we were talking about, even though he had 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, I mean, Calvin Ridley had a quote earlier in training camp where he said, I've got fast days and I've got slow days. Today was a fast day. Yesterday was a slow day. The problem is, why are we having slow days, especially when it comes down to effort, right? You're a $92 million wide receiver. You've got over $50 million in guarantees in your contract. The Titans paid you to come and be a guy, a leader, and a star receiver. And so, when you are talking about Brian Callahan and trying to cultivate this winning culture, so much so that Brian Callahan believes winning in the preseason is helpful for his team, because he says win in the preseason, you learn how to win, winning habits. Like, running down these deep balls is winning habits. Going and making a play and giving 100 in practice is winning habits. Taking plays off is not. And so Calvin says on there, look, Will and I, we've got it down. It won't be a problem in the games. And if it's not a problem in the games, okay. At the end of the day, like, this is not going, this doesn't affect how I feel about Calvin Ridley's ability to have a big season, but it is a not great moment that you have to say, hey, Calvin, we need to be better. The good news, Austin, is Calvin knows he needs to be better. And Calvin says in that video, I got to run full speed all the time. And so it is good accountability that he recognizes not giving your all in practice in these circumstances, especially a competitive joint practice, not exactly what we want to be doing.
Yeah, and Randy says, I agree, but I bet he'll be fast today, right? And like, that's a good thing about 2 days of joint practice, because I see a lot of teams around the league are maybe just doing the 1 day, because the second day leads to a lot of fighting at times. But I think the good thing about 2 days is you see the bounce back, you see the counter punch on all sides, right? Calvin Ridley has a slow, bad day. Woolen gets him, whoops him a couple times in one-on-ones and in team and in 7-on-7. Okay, let's see how Ridley responds the next day.
I love this point out of Randy, because I'm really, really interested in seeing Calvin Ridley today.
And the same thing, I've heard a lot. JC Latham got beat inside a lot yesterday by Mafe and some others on the Seahawks defensive front who are really talented. And so what does JC Latham do today? Is he going to overcompensate for the inside move that he got beat on yesterday, or is he going to stay balanced? How is it going to work? Is there going to be a counterpunch from all these Seattle rushers who are winning inside that can fake inside and cut, rip out? Like, everything is about, like, what is the learning and coachability of these players from day 1 to day 2 in joint practice. And that's going to be interesting, because a dude that had a great day 1 yesterday, Sam, was Jaquan Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, the Titans offense did not have a ton of big plays. It was a lot of, like I said, underneath passes. There was, a handful of nice runs, but, a lot of stuff bottled up at the line of scrimmage as well. This is a really good Seahawks defense. Yep. This is a Seahawks defense that, has a head coach now, and Mike McDonald, that's, from the same coaching tree as Denard Wilson in Baltimore, runs a very similar aggressive defense. And that was clear watching Seattle's defense. They brought the fight to the line of scrimmage. They brought the fight to the Tennessee Titans yesterday. And so a very good defense kind of limited a lot of explosive plays, but Jaquan Jackson had 2 long explosive touchdowns, Austin. One of them in 7-on-7, one of them in full team period. Both of them were shorter passes that Jackson caught and then ran after the catch, blowing by every defender. The one in team period, 75-yard touchdown from Mason Rudolph. And so notable, because Jaquan Jackson was somebody who had a nice punt return in the preseason game. Kieris Jackson obviously had a very nice kick return in the preseason game. We've talked about how Mason Kinsey, Kyle Phillips are guys that have stood out as slot options on offense in some of these practices. And Brian Callahan actually had a bit of a slip up in his press conference where he started talking about keeping 6 wide receivers. And if he keeps 6 wide receivers, what exactly that looks like for this team.
All right, so here was Brian Callahan asked about Jaquan Jackson yesterday.
He's getting better every day, and I think that's all you can ask for him. And again, played well in the game, had a nice punt return, had a really explosive play today of 70-yard touchdown or whatever it was. That was a real touchdown. So that's good to see. I think he needs to keep stacking those days and keep making a case for himself. And again, he's got ability. We drafted him because we liked his ability with the ball in his hand, and I think those things have shown up in practice.
Jaquan makes a play like that. Does it make you want to see what he could do with the ones in case you were to play in the game?
Yeah, he's one of those guys that if you're carrying 6 receivers and you're carrying him on game day, he's going to have to contribute in some way, shape, or form. So there's opportunity for him for sure. And as he keeps making plays, just like all the other guys, they'll keep having opportunities to keep moving up. So he's no different. He'll have a chance, I think, to get some more reps.
6 receivers slip or on purpose. I think that's pretty interesting there. Comment from Brian Callahan when asked about Jaquan Jackson and getting better every day and making those plays. But hey, Mason Kinsey was the first guy that got the people going yesterday with a special teams period. So there's a lot of competition around wide receiver 6. So let's go ahead and ask everybody here today, who's got the leg up for that last wide receiver spot on the Titans roster? Is it Jaquan Jackson? Big day yesterday. Keiaris Jackson putting things together. Kyle Phillips, the draft pick, or Mason Kinsey, the scrappy practice squad veteran? Who's got the leg up when it comes to the last wide receiver spot on the roster? We'll get to all of your comments here in a second, but you guys know by now, Smoky Mountain Tops, they are our great sponsor for all of our training camp coverage this summer here with the Tennessee Titans. If you're thinking about updating those kitchen or bath countertops, call the pros at Smoky Mountain Tops. Family owned and operated for over 30 years. You've seen their work in both Bridgestone Arena and in Neyland Stadium, and they would love the opportunity to earn your business as well. Smoky Mountain Tops is proud to offer the luxurious handstone Pimeo quartz collection seen in both Nashville and Knoxville studios, and it's known for their quality and exceptional design. Handstone has over 50 colors and unique patterns to draw your inspiration from. So if you want to book an appointment to see that Handstone Pimeo quartz, call Smoky Mountain Tops today, 615-922-6539, SmokyMountainTops.com, and tell them you heard about them on A to Z Sports. So Sam, I'll toss it back to you, and we'll go to the chat here. We'll do our best to read the answers in the chat, but who has the leg up on the 6 wide receiver spot between a few guys, Jaquan Jackson, Keiaris Jackson, Kyle Phillips, who also I saw making nice plays on offense yesterday, and then Mason Kinsey, who might as well be the Energizer Bunny.
Who we also need to know, right? If we're going off the unofficial depth chart, Mason Kinsey is currently the punt returner on the unofficial depth chart. So,
and behind Tyler Boyd in slot, who did not practice yesterday with a bruised foot, Kyle Phillips is the second slot guy, right? So he took a lot of reps with Will Levis yesterday.
Yep. No, absolutely. This is why it's such an interesting conversation and competition. Eric says Jaquan Jackson. Kenneth says Jaquan Jackson. We got Keiaris Jackson from Matt. Some more Jaquan Jackson love from Ashley and Curtis and Titans Kyle. Corey on Keiaris Jackson. We've got Jaquan Jackson from Jason here. End up keeping 7 receivers, says Malachi Perry, which is a possibility to me, Austin. I don't think it is impossible that the Titans could end up keeping 7 wide receivers, especially when you look at potentially where they sacrifice. Like if it's 2 quarterbacks, if it's 3 running backs, I think it's kind of realistic to expect them to only keep 3 tight ends at this point. Maybe it's 9 offensive linemen and 7 wide receivers if they believe that there's some special teams value in 2 of these guys.
For sure. I think that, and special teams value in 3 of them, right? NWI.
Yeah, well, NWI as a potential like backup perimeter receiver that also has special teams value. And then if both of your returners are coming from your backup receivers, maybe it is 7. Yeah, I think that's one of the difficult conversations that Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan will have to have, is weighing the offensive output of maybe another backup offensive lineman versus what you could be getting on special teams from another skill guy like a wide receiver.
Yeah, Dylan says they'll keep 7. Take Rock says Keiaris due to his return ability. Yeah. I mean, I think the majority of the comments that we are seeing right here are
Well, Jackson number 5 is Kieris
but
Jackson.
I'm
So
saying they're all Jacksons.
we're getting Jacksons. It's
Jacksons. I haven't seen this. There's Phillips. Jace is Phillips according to the depth chart and wide receiver role. But I think, and I went off on this on Tuesday with Jack on the show, Sam. I played the clip of Kyle Phillips that you got and sent us of him just dropping a punt in warmups, and I said, if Kyle Phillips is not returning punts and can't be trusted to field a punt, then what is he doing on this football team as the 6th receiver?
Yeah,
Because he's not playing these other special teams roles either.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Phillips is not big enough to play other special teams roles. And one thing he talked to me about when I had a chance to meet up with him after practice was just he does feel like this is a bit of a fresh start for him. New coaching staff who doesn't have these preconceived notions about him as a punt returner and his capabilities one way or another. But I wouldn't say he's done himself any favors on punt return with the new coaching staff. He hasn't been a prominent punt returner during practices at all. From what we did see of his warmups at Nissan Stadium, dealing with some of the same issues. And so then you end up with Kyle Phillips in the same predicament that he has always been in, which is, can you establish yourself as that valuable on offense that it kind of overrides your lack of ability to contribute on special teams? I don't know if I would say he has done that so far. Can he do that? Yes. An injury to Tyler Boyd would certainly help Kyle Phillips and will help Kyle Phillips every day that Boyd is not available for him to potentially make some plays and get there. But that is ultimately the uphill battle that he's having to climb, because Mason Kinsey is a gunner and Mason Kinsey is a punt returner. Same thing goes for Kieris Jackson on kick return and gunner and punt return. Same thing goes for Jaquan Jackson on kick return and gunner and punt return. And so all of these guys have the ability to contribute on special teams in 3 different areas. All 3 of those guys are also able to line up pretty much anywhere on the line of scrimmage. Kinsey and Kieris Jackson in particular have some offensive versatility that Phillips and Jaquan Jackson do not.
Yeah, so to answer the question, I think it is Jaquan Jackson. And I've been feeling that way. I think Kyle Phillips is cut. I think this is the hardest year to cut Mason Kinsey in his 5 total, I believe it is, training camp.
Just based off of performance.
Yeah, like he's been legitimately solid. Like, and again, like he's been spicing things up. Teron talked to him after. He's like, dude, you're the spiciest guy out here. And there's 181 guys out here practicing for the most part on both rosters for the Seahawks and the Titans, if you combine them all. But you know, Kinsey's out there as a gunner, getting things going. He's making plays on offense too. And so I think it is the hardest year to cut him. I think Kyle Phillips, like we've talked about, I just don't see the roster value to keep him. And you know, another thing that Brian Callahan said is, if all 6 of these guys are active, so they're going to keep 6 receivers active most likely, because look, they're running 3 more 4 wide receiver sets in this offense compared to what we're used to the last several years here. But you also have 3 of these 6 potentially that are true special teamers with NWI. Well, I guess, yeah, Traylon Burks potentially, NWI, and then the 6th guy, which I think is Jaquan Jackson.
Yeah, I would say too, let's go to this comment right up here. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Let me see if I can find it here. Correct me if I'm wrong, because Blessed Coast Seeds wants to know, could the DeAndre Hopkins injury allow them to keep 7? Austin, I don't believe the Hopkins injury is a factor here, because even if Hopkins is out for week 1, Hopkins will have to be on the 53-man roster and then just inactive for week 1. He won't be able to play week 1, but you cannot put DeAndre Hopkins on IR without forcing him to miss at least 4 games of the season. If you put him on IR before the regular season, he misses the entire regular season. So you cannot remove DeAndre Hopkins from your active roster just because he might miss week 1 with an injury, unless there is a significant setback and he is unable to play for any of these wide receivers, a significant injury that keeps them out for at least a month of the regular season. That will not be a factor. My answer as well has to be Jaquan Jackson. I do not believe, I hate being this guy. I do not believe the Kieris Jackson hype. I don't. I do think he helped himself in the preseason game with the kick return and showing his ability to do that. I don't believe that really moves the needle for me at all in terms of his chances of making the roster. He has been maybe their 8th best wide receiver in terms of being a wide receiver in training camp. I think you've got the starting 5. Kinsey has been better than him. Phillips has been better than him. He might be 10th best because Jaquan Jackson has been better than him. Bryce Oliver has probably been better than Kearis Jackson. So if he's your wide receiver 10 on offense, I think he needs to really, really, really be your best return option. Here's the thing. I believe Tajay Spears is the kick returner for this team. I believe Tajay Spears and Treylon Burks are both going to get opportunities to return kicks for this team. Jaquan Jackson has shown the ability to be a kick returner for this team. I don't think, Kearis Jackson has shown me something that I don't think you can get elsewhere. And one thing Brian Callahan has talked about when asked about this predicament is finding the balance for how can we get special teams value out of somebody who also brings offensive upside. Kearis, to me, does not have offensive upside that you would want. So I believe Jaquan Jackson was drafted by the Titans. Keep in mind, for a reason. This year, this coach, this general manager, for a reason. 6th round pick. I think he does a lot of the things they like, and his ability to be explosive after the catch, like he showed yesterday during practice, I think is huge. So for me, Jaquan Jackson is the easy 6th wide receiver to me. The question becomes, do you keep a 7th? Yeah. But if it's just 6, I have a hard time seeing a world where Kearis or Kyle Phillips earn that spot over Jaquan Jackson. There was a moment that I thought Mason Kinsey might actually have a shot at it just based on production, but then you end up with the same problem. And if Kinsey is not your punt returner, does he do enough on offense to remove a Jaquan Jackson who might be your punt returner, from the roster? It's a tough call.
It is. So the touchdown, the 75-yard touchdown from Jaquan Jackson, I was actually walking from the Titans defense field to the Titans offense field and basically was waving goodbye to Jaquan Jackson as he was flying down the sideline, running away from everybody. And we played the Brian Callahan clip earlier. It's a real touchdown. Like sometimes in training camp, you're not really sure what was a real touchdown or what was just the defense, not finishing the tackle like they do. That was a legitimate real touchdown, running away from everybody.
The Seahawks are hitting. Like they were coming in, they were hitting. And that was one thing that, I watched the Seahawks defense against the Titans offense yesterday. Seahawks maybe not the most disciplined team in the world. They picked up a helmet-to-helmet penalty. They picked up a face mask penalty, ripping Kyle Phillips to the ground by his face mask. They had multiple neutral zone infractions, jumping over the line of scrimmage, aggressive.
NPF celebrating, emphatically celebrating an offsides by the Seahawks.
Yeah. Aggressive, maybe not disciplined, but there was no doubt. They left no doubt that they were coming and bringing the heat and hitting these Titans players. So, yeah, Jaquan Jackson blows by everybody. That is a real touchdown with a real defense and a real offense drawing up real plays. And so he has now shown the ability to go against an opposing NFL defense, that had some of their starters in at this time. It was like a second team defense that had some starters in there, but his ability to blow by these guys for a big play, and that's not insignificant by any means.
Not at all. All right, so Sam, before I talk about what the Titans defense did and what I saw from yesterday, I see Jody, I see others, Daniel asking about Titans defense. Sam, any other offensive notes? We haven't talked about Treylon Burks. He cramped at the end of practice, right? It was a cramp.
Yep.
Not anything bad, so should see him out here. There were J.C. Latham cramped. There was a lot of cramps.
Devondre Sweat, J.C. Latham, Treylon Burks. There was a handful of guys that came off the field, and there was a moment of, is he injured? Brian Callahan said no, just cramping, no significant injuries. I thought it was a good day overall for the Titans running backs. Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard made the most of some of their opportunities. Whenever they had big holes, it turned into some very big runs. Andrew Rupcich got a lot of looks with the first team and rotated in at right guard some. So that's another position battle to keep watching. And then Jaron Christian was the backup left tackle that replaced J.C. Latham when Latham was out with a cramp for a few series. So keep an eye on Jaron Christian potentially as your offensive tackle 3 and left tackle 2 in this rotation, a good sign of where he's currently at on the depth chart.
For sure. All right, so I'll flip over the defense, and I'll talk about what I saw from Jeffrey Simmons to Vondre Sweat, the Titans defense yesterday. There's also one injury that I don't know if Brian Callahan was aware of by the time he talked, because he talked pretty quick. A defensive player that I saw get hobbled off late in practice and did not see him return. So we'll see what that looks like from a defensive injury here in a moment. But first, all of our great morning show coverage is presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. You can plan on Farm Bureau Health Plans for your health, dental, your vision coverage. They've been serving Tennesseans for 78 years across the entire state. And for whatever your situation is, Farm Bureau Health Plans can help you, 1, save money on your health coverage, and 2, get better coverage with it. Lower that deductible. Have a better all plan. Don't pay out of pocket to go to the dentist twice a year that you need to do. Put those contacts on your vision coverage as well with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Whatever your situation is, they've got you covered. Maybe you're single, independent contractor, entrepreneur type, and you have to go fight the marketplace. Don't do that. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Maybe you're a young growing family with you and your spouse, and you're preparing for that next stage of life. They've got you, as well as the empty nesters out there looking for that next level of coverage too. Farm Bureau Health Plans can do it all, and check them out and get a quote using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. That's the best way to do sports betting when risk is limited and you get 2 chances at winning big. I do not have a no-runs first inning play for you guys today, unfortunately, but the streak is alive. Look, I didn't have a chance to look at it. Normally, I've got my phone sitting next to me when we're doing the show, and I'm just able to rip it off real quick. But not today. I will have one tomorrow. Austin and I will be back on the show tomorrow, and I will have a no-run first inning play. So, hey, keep an eye out for that. Let's see if we can keep the streak going. But regardless, if you have a no-runs first inning play for yourself, do it with BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas, and use the bonus code ATOZ Sports.
All right, here live at St. Thomas Sports Park. Titans practice starts at 10, so just a little bit over an hour. Seahawks Titans joint practice day 2. King VC jumps in with a super chat, says lock in, like the show. Hit that like button on Facebook and on YouTube if you haven't already. That goes a long way for us. Okay, so we'll get to defensive notes here in a second. But one injury that I think is something to monitor is late in the last drive of Seahawks offense versus Titans defense, 11-on-11 yesterday. Trey Avery was making a play on a wide receiver on the sideline. That momentum of the throw carried both players out of bounds on the far sideline for me. Trey Avery looked like he landed funky on a left ankle. He stayed down. Trainer came out there. I texted you about it. He was walking off with a trainer. I did not see him go back in at all. I was trying to eye that field actually ended a lot earlier than the Titans offensive field. So everybody walked over and watched the end of practice together that was on field too. So Trey Avery, I'm curious to see, is he going to be out here and ready to go for day 2, or is there some soreness? Because it looked like he fell weird, whether he was trying to avoid landing on the Seahawks receiver out of bounds and maybe rolled his ankle or stepped on something that had that ankle come up lame, but he was walking off with a trainer. I did not see him go inside. He stayed on the sideline, but it was the last 5 minutes of practice. So we'll just see if he's out here. But that's a big deal because Trey Avery is currently one of the Titans starters because L'Jarius Sneed's not practicing. Cheeto Awuzie is not practicing still with the calf injury. And so you're out there and you've got Trey Avery and Jarvis Brownlee Jr. as your, current temporarily starting corners. And I'll say this, main takeaway from the Titans defensive side of the football field, nobody can guard DK Metcalf that's active wearing a practice jersey for the Tennessee Titans. He can do whatever he wants, wherever he wants, and however he wants to do it. DK Metcalf is a dog. So is Kenneth Walker Jr., the Seahawks running back. Outside of that, Seahawks didn't really have much of anybody who could win one-on-one battles against the Titans defense. I think overall, the Titans defense was able to control the line of scrimmage for the majority of the day. There was a big 70-plus yard touchdown, DK Metcalf over Jarvis Brownlee Jr. on the sideline. Brownlee was on his hip. DK does what he does, goes up, gets the football. Brownlee falls down. DK keeps his balance, feet in, and runs down the sideline. There was a couple others where DK Metcalf was getting lost in the middle of the field on play action. But I've seen Jeffrey Simmons getting after all quarterbacks. Tavondre Sweat had a play early in practice where he just dominated the guy in front of him. Got a lot of push on Geno Smith, made Geno move and throw an inaccurate ball. So at one point, Sam, this is crazy. I've never seen this. And I know Sam Howell gets sacked a lot, but I don't think he brought the Commanders offensive line to Seattle with him. But there was one play where Sam Howell got sacked 4 plays in a row. And it was anybody and everybody that wanted to get after Sam Howell. He had no chance during those 4
It's
reps.
people that are not ready for Denard Wilson's defense.
No.
Like they come out hot, man. And yeah, I don't think Seattle was fully ready for all the different blitz packages and looks that the Titans were going to bring at them. Austin, I do think the Trey Avery injury is worth noting. Maybe not because of Trey Avery on the surface, right? I think a lot of people in the chat are going, oh no, Trey Avery's out. Like, what are we going to do, right? But Trey Avery was going to, and I still think is projected to make this team and is on that trajectory right now to be one of those corners that slides in at the back end of the room. But with him out, with Snead out, with Cheeto out, what kind of opportunity does it open up for other cornerbacks in that room potentially to step up and get some opportunities against a first team offense and make some plays and do themselves a favor for, hey, pay more attention to me. I deserve to make this team as well. It's almost like these joint practices are a weird game type of atmosphere where, you know, you get opportunities against the starters, you make a couple of plays in a game, and all of a sudden the people start looking at you a little bit differently. So it's less about missing Trey Avery and it more about if he's not out here today at Titans practice, we don't see him take the field here in 20 minutes, you know, who is taking the field in his place and what are they able to do on defense?
Gabe Jeudy-Lally. And that's where it's at right now. If Trey Avery's not here, then your 2 number 1 outside corners going up against DK Metcalf, JSN, and Tyler Lockett would be Brownlee and Gabe Jeudy-Lally. So a 5th-round rookie and an undrafted rookie, which, hey, grow up fast, young fellas. And I think we both really like what Jarvis Brownlee Jr. has done in camp. And I think we both really like the ability of Gabe Jeudy-Lally to be physical. And so, look, somebody asked, like, JSN couldn't get open. I mean, he did a few times, but, like, practice, there's so many plays, so many reps. Like, the consistency outside of pushing the DK Metcalf button was not there. And Kenneth Walker Jr., the running back for the Seahawks, he was really impressive, but he made a lot of 0 gain or minus yards plays into gains of 4 or 5 or 6. He made a couple guys miss in the hole. He was able to bounce outside with some quickness. But overall, I think the Titans defense was in control of everything that did not go to number 14, DK Metcalf. And Geno, I think, also has the tendency to get sacked some too. Like in that stretch where Sam Howell got sacked 4 straight times, there were 4 plays from Geno, 4 from Howell, and then 4 from PJ Walker, the 3rd quarterback for the Seahawks. And 12 plays, 4 sacks on Howell, 1 on Geno, 1 on PJ Walker, 6 sacks in 12 reps. And Daniel asked who was getting the sacks. Everybody you can, I mean, it was because it was the second team defense is the one that had all 4 against Sam Howell, but Eric Garror finished it off with a blitz off the edge where he was there so fast. Sam Howell, that was the last one. And like, you could see the defeat in Sam Howell's like body language. His face mask was just like down staring at the ground because he's like, damn it, how did that 4 times in a row? Like, I've never seen that before in a practice, 4 times in a row of sacks on a quarterback, to where I overheard somebody on the Titans defensive sideline saying, hey, y'all need to get your quarterback some massages because they were, if it was a real game, they would have gotten blown up. And there was one play in particular where DK Metcalf had probably a 30 to 40 yard chunk play catch, but it never would have happened, because Jeffrey Simmons, at the very least, would have made Geno's throw inaccurate. At the most, would have blown Geno up and put his chest in between the numbers and maybe had to avoid a penalty from falling on him. Jeff was flying around the side on a stunt and got right in Geno's grill. He had to let up, screamed sack, as you know Jeff does, as he ran right by Geno. But it was a very impressive day by the defensive front.
It's the MO for this Titans defense, I think, and really going to be where their identity lies, and success or failure is how much they're able to control the line of scrimmage and get after the quarterback. It's why the potential suspension of Arden Key matters so much to me, Austin, because, you know, who is that next guy off the edge? If it's Rashad Weaver, like Rashad Weaver's bread and butter is not sacking the quarterback and getting after the quarterback.
He had a good day. Like, I will say Rashad Weaver had a really good day yesterday in being consistent. He was setting the edge. He was making good plays. I saw him make a couple, like there was some if there wasn't a sack, there was some check downs to the tight ends and running backs. And I thought as a whole, the Titans defense always had somebody there to catch that check down, whether it was Weaver on the edge, Kenneth Murray did a couple times. So you saw this defense flying around and really playing very well.
Yeah, I think that, so this defensive line, potentially the biggest strength of the Titans defense, you know, certainly one of the things that is very fun to think about, impressive, strong. Yeah. The starting corners, another potential strength. But it brings us to our next question here this morning about this Titans defense. If we're imagining a world where this Titans defense is not as good as we hope it's going to be, if it is slightly underwhelming, why? So what is the biggest weakness in the Titans defense right now? And I guess what would be the reason why they're not as successful as you potentially want them to be?
Yeah, it was a great day yesterday for the Titans defense, but it was not even close to being perfect. So we'll ask you guys that question here too. What is the biggest weakness of this Titans defense to this point in your mind? We'll get to your comments here in a second, but first, the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should turn for all of your injury needs. Injuries happen in life, just like in football. So you have to know who you can trust and where you can go to. And that is the experts at the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin off I-65 and Highway 96. They've got you right there, right next to Williamson Medical. They've got over a dozen experts at the Bone and Joint Institute to help you out right there. So check them out online, boneandjointtn.org.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. If your first bet loses, whatever that first bet wager amount is, it goes back into your account in the form of a bonus bet. Second chance to win big. That's the way to do sports betting. It's BetMGM and BetMGM.com, the sportsbook born in Vegas.
All right, so we've asked the question, if the Titans have a weakness on defense, what is it at this point? And Sam, I think the chat is mostly all over it. Billy, middle linebackers. Wesley, linebackers. Ken, linebackers. IR just says injury, which I guess that's keeping Snead and Cheeto off the field. So that's not a
true
fair answer, right? Darius says second edge rusher opposite Harold. I see David saying edge. Sports fan, middle of the field pass defense, inside linebackers. And I'll stop there because that's the answer for me. It's play action pass, big holes in the middle of the defense, whether that's the inside linebackers biting on the play action or just the inability of being qualified cover guys from those positions. And I will say this, Quandre Diggs was out there taking first team reps next to Amani Hooker yesterday for the first time. And I like that combo. It allows Amani Hooker to play his better natural position of the strong safety or lower down towards the line of scrimmage near the box and let Diggs play center field. I think that's better. Hooker can play center field if you need to. It's great to have a guy who's versatile like that. But I think the best setup is to have Hooker down there so he can help out maybe some of those interior linebackers who are not exactly the best cover guys. So I think a lot of people are nailing it when it comes to inside linebackers.
I think a lot of people are on it as well because the answer for me, Austin, is going to be edge. I think edge is a concern beyond Harold Landry, especially with the potential Arden Key 6-game suspension. They do not have another edge rusher on their roster right now that has a sack in the last 6 years of NFL football outside of Harold Landry. Arden Key has some, but you've got Weaver. I think Weaver's got like 2 or something like 3. You got none out of Shane Ray. You've got none out of all of your undrafted rookies and your Caleb Murphys or even your rookies this year in Jalen Harrell. So, you know, when you have to control the line of scrimmage, like I think the Titans need to, when you have to get after the quarterback like they need to play successful in Denard Wilson's scheme, I do get worried that they don't have a second edge rusher that is really capable of getting after the quarterback. Rashad Weaver did nothing to inspire me in that first preseason game, and frankly has never really been a guy with tremendous pursuit of the quarterback. He's more of a hold the edge, run stopping edge rusher as it is. So I think that is where the biggest weakness lies you can get into the weeds and say, hey, if they lose their starting cornerbacks, they're thin at cornerback beyond cornerback 4. And yes, duh,
every NFL team.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I do think, Jack Gibbons and Kenneth Murray are going to be just fine at inside linebacker. And I think you could probably plug Chance Campbell in there and still be just fine at inside linebacker. I hear what you're saying. There's some weaknesses in play action over the middle of the field, but I don't necessarily believe that's what this defense is designed for. And you could potentially get one of your box safeties coming down to help you out in that area, especially now that Quandre Diggs is in this defense. For me, it's a lot of focus on how can you control the line of scrimmage and what do you have at edge. I potentially am looking at the Titans as a possibility to go and pursue another veteran edge option.
Sure.
When cuts come, even
Well,
I know there's guys out there right now. Titans fans are saying, go get Hassan Reddick, right? I don't know how realistic that is, but like,
you have to pay.
yeah, you got to pay the guy. So, but like, let's potentially look at maybe there's a veteran edge rusher that does have recent experience sacking the quarterback that becomes available, after cuts are made at the end of training camp. I think that's a real possibility and something they need to consider.
So, even if Arden Key wasn't going to be suspended for 6 games, right? Like, you still have questions about his ability to be a 3-down guy, a full-time starter. Like, we see flashes, but
I look, I don't even know if it needs to be a full 3-down guy. The thing I like is that Arden Key on 3rd down is going to be able to pin his ears back and get after the quarterback. And as your second best edge rusher on a defensive front that also has Jeffrey Simmons, Devondre Sweat, and Sebastian Joseph Day starting, I think that plays and is fine. But when it's not Arden Key and when it's an unproven talent, an unproven guy there that has never sacked a quarterback before at the NFL level, I get a little worried.
Yeah, I think the idea of the Titans defense is build it in the middle of the D-line and on the edge at corner. And those 2 positions will make your below average or average edge rusher better, right? Like, when Jeffrey Simmons and Devondre Sweat are doing what they did to the Seahawks' first offensive line yesterday, then it's going to be easier for Snead and Cheeto to cover DK Metcalf when they're out there. Now, they just weren't out there, so DK had a day. And it's going to be easier for some of these lesser than edge rushers to make a really solid push because the quarterback's going to be on the move. And like, that's the other thing too. Like, Geno, Sam Howell, PJ Walker, all 3 of them were having to move off their spot. To flip it around, Malik Willis is being coached this year to stay back in the pocket, to not move up. Like, that was his tendency because Denard wants his interior rush to make the quarterback move. And so if you're going to make the quarterback move, then your edge rusher doesn't have to be as good or doesn't have to win as quick because the quarterback might be coming right to him. And I think that's literally what they're doing. And the quick pass is going to be eliminated on the outside because you've got Snead and Cheeto playing the guy's face. And
this is another area, right, that like a healthy Jamal Adams helps you a lot because you mentioned if a guy like Eric Garror is getting off the edge and getting a bunch of sacks in this defense, that is the design of how Jamal Adams can be used that can offset potentially weaker edge rushers is this idea that, Jamal Adams looks like an edge rusher. Austin, I was sitting there at Nissan Stadium the other day looking at the group of Titans players that were not suited up to play in the game, guys that were not in uniform and pads, and they're just in their shorts and T-shirts. And Jamal Adams looks just as big, if not bigger, than Harold Landry standing next to him. And there was a moment that I don't remember who I was standing down there with, but, I had kind of said something. I believe it was Easton Freeze and I were sitting there looking at the players, and he kind of goes, "Who's that over there in the bucket hat?" I go, "That's Harold." And he goes, "No, that can't be Harold. He's like smaller than Jamal Adams." And I was like, well, no, Jamal Adams just has an edge rusher's body and was born to play safety. And so when you look at his size and obviously speed that you've seen Jamal Adams have throughout his career, that potentially is another option for how you can offset that. But Jamal Adams, of course, comes with his own set of question marks and his level of got to prove it this year.
Well, if you want to go by the roster right here, Jamal Adams, 6'1", 213, Harold Landry, 6'2", 252. Harold maybe a little lighter. Remember, he lost a lot of weight.
I would be surprised though if Adams was really playing at 213 right now. He looks 225 to me.
Yeah, and Harold's probably not 252 because he even mentioned that he lost 10 to 15 pounds when he was sick right when camp started, and he wanted to gain it back the right way. So he might be 10 pounds lower, and Jamal might be 10 pounds heavier. So they're not that far off from looking like each other from a body standpoint. But so Jamal Adams at practice yesterday, play number 1. Period number 1, 11 on 11. Play number 1. Jamal Adams meets Kenneth Walker in the hole. Big pop, and Jamal talking nonstop. Of course he was. And then he was to the Seattle Seahawks sideline talking nonstop. Not going to repeat the words, but just nonstop going. A couple plays later, blitz off the edge, screaming by Geno's ear as Geno lets the ball go. Jamal Adams was ready to ball yesterday, and I think he had a lot of fun doing it. Quandre Diggs as well. They both had some plays where they missed. Walker got bounced outside of Diggs, who lost contain on a run play once. But overall, I really like the usage of Jamal Adams is going to be very fascinating because he's going to be used as a big nickel who's going to get after the quarterback. And I mentioned Eric Garror had a sack. Eric Garror also had a pick 6 off of a tip drill. So that Eric Garror had a nice day, who I think is
first time I'm hearing about this Eric Garror pick 6.
I mean, I tweeted about it. You didn't catch the tweet?
I guess I didn't.
There's a lot of tweets yesterday. Hey,
that's going to be what it is today, man. I'm going to be over with the Titans defense today. Austin's going to hang with the Titans offense. That way we can both get a look at both sides of things. But yeah, it's a free for all. We're both firing it off from @ATOZ Sports on Twitter. So go hit a follow there, maybe even put notifications on if you want to make sure that you're getting every single update from practice, every play, every highlight, every notable thing that happens. We'll be letting you guys know, man. That's what we do. That's what we're out here for. We're in the heat, fighting off the sun and making sure that we, let everybody know what's happening at Titans practice.
I have a question for you about the Titans offense for me to watch today, and I'll give you a little something to watch today on the Titans defense. We'll do that in here in a second. But first, Wilson County Hyundai is where you should turn for all of your new car buying needs in Lebanon. Online, WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can save some money by going to Lebanon for that new ride, not paying those downtown prices. Say hey to Payne Bone while you're there and tell them A to Z sent you, WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Sam, my question to you is, for me watching the Titans offense today, where I didn't really watch anything outside of like the last 5 minutes of practice yesterday from the Titans offense, what do I need to look out for? What's something you want to see, that counterpunch we talked about at the beginning of the show? What's the counterpunch of progress from the Titans offense today that you want to see follow up from yesterday?
For me, I would love to see a passing game that includes more layered throws and attacks on the second level. Fans have seen some of the video in both 1-on-1s and 7-on-7, and like they've just kind of seen the logs. And if you looked at it just from a completion or not completion standpoint, you would think the Titans offense was dominating. Like they completed a lot of passes during 1-on-1s, but they didn't complete a lot of significant deep routes, and they didn't complete a lot of passes with separation. 7-on-7, there was nothing really more than 5 to 10 yards down the field. And in 7-on-7, you should be able to find somebody open 5 to 10 yards down the field. It's about, going through different route trees and a quarterback going through progressions and finding a guy in that next layer of the defense. So for me, I want to see Will Levis take some more shots, and it doesn't necessarily have to be big explosives all the time, but just, throw the ball for a first down instead of, throwing the ball for a gain of 2, 3, 4 yards. That one is big to me. And then I think you mentioned it earlier. I need to see a bounce back from Calvin Ridley. I need to see a bounce back from JC Latham. Those two guys, huge for me as far as, needing to see a good day after a probably not ideal first day at joint practices.
Eric also adds it's going to be a lot of red zone today, which I think is fun.
We're getting a lot of red zone, and we are ending practice with my absolute favorite thing in all of training camp, a joint practice 2-minute drill.
Oh, hell yeah.
And the joint practice 2-minute drill, that's as real as it gets. You talked about the Jaquan Jackson touchdown as a real touchdown. Well, guys that make plays in 2-minute drill, Austin, it's funny. Go back 2 years, and before the injury to Kyle Phillips in the opener that sort of derailed everything here, he had 60 yards in his NFL debut, and somehow it wasn't surprising because every time we went through 2-minute drills of joint practices or training camp, Ryan Tannehill threw the ball to Kyle Phillips. That was his guy. And so this is going to be fun. No D-Hop, maybe no Tyler Boyd. who is Will Levis's guy in a 2-minute drill? Who is the guy that steps up? I mean, Josh Wiley has been going like this, ascending throughout all of camp. Maybe a big drill for him. Like that is what is going to be, I think, very, very fun for you to watch here with the Titans offense.
I love it. I love it. I'll give you something too for the Titans defense. Look, DK Metcalf is DK Metcalf. I'm not expecting the Titans to have an answer for him. It's just a lack of personnel because no Snead and no Cheeto. Maybe Snead's out there. I don't know. We'll see what happens. They let Snead go one day against DK to get a little ramp up before the season. I don't think that will happen, but so I want you to watch to see if the Titans defense does a better job bottling up Kenneth Walker. He's really talented. And the Titans front, like I've been talking about this whole time, has been controlling the line. But Kenneth Walker, the third, I called him junior earlier, the third was able to make guys miss in the open field and make something out of nothing. And so I think Kenneth Murray on the outside, Jack Gibbons, other inside linebackers going up against Walker, other edge defenders like Jamal Adams, Eric Garrison, Roger McCreary, the nickel guys that are playing those contain roles. How do they do against Walker? Because he has the ability to sell it like he's going to go upfield, and then that lateral hop that you see a lot from Tajay Spears of bang, bouncing right outside of you, you lose contain, and he's off to the sideline. So I want to see that because a lot of really good stuff from the Titans defense yesterday, but can they keep Kenneth Walker bottled up and contained? Because that's demoralizing. When you think you got a guy in the backfield or for no gain, and he just makes a jump cut that you were not expecting and contains gone, he picks up 8.
Yeah. Yeah. Want to give some love real quick to a starred comment that we've got. A super chat came in from Curator who said, we've got to have the best local podcast in the NFL, Austin, in the NFL. That's big love from Curator. Hey man, appreciate we are very fortunate. Like I said, I got a chance to meet some A to Z viewers yesterday here at joint practices because we've got a loyal group of people that are hanging out with us every morning, getting great updates. So, it's always appreciated.
No, yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that comment there. We work hard at it. Buck's here. If you saw the camera shake a little bit,
Buck was sitting there right here.
He's not here. I don't know where he went. He's getting ready for radio, but yeah. So appreciate that from everybody who make those comments. That it really does matter. It goes a long way for us. But anyway, we're going to have a ton of content coming out right around 10 o'clock as practice gets going. So make sure you like the show before you go. Hit that like button for us. That's a big deal for us on Facebook and on YouTube. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow morning. Buck Rising will be live tonight for A to Z Primetime, and content coming on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and more. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.